join us on Southwest Boxing Media today. We do obviously really appreciate time. How are you? Are you having some well-deserved time off now? Are you back in the gym? What's the situation at the moment?
So I had a couple of weeks off so I could recover properly. I need my ear to heal up. But yeah, no, first day back in the gym today, and I've never been so happy to be back. Like I felt like a very long time doing nothing. So yeah, no, very pleased to be back training again.
What's the situation with you guys? Obviously, up in Scotland, Wales, where you've only just now, I think, been let back up with lockdown. Is it difficult for you for gym? For being back in the gym, or because you're professional, you're sort of allowed? What's the
Well,
situation?
professionals are allowed back in the gym, so like we're allowed in the gym for training, so that's not so much of a difficulty for us. I do feel for other people though, like general gym goers and all that sort of thing, and the amateurs, they still can't use the gyms. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I really feel for them, unfortunately. But for myself as a professional, I'm allowed to use the gym.
But do you see yourself now as I'm a sky fighter, I'm fighting on these bills from now on? Is that how you sort of envisage the path moving forward?
Yeah, basically I'm at that level, like obviously being a former world champion, I'm not going to be doing like your 6 rounders anymore like that, or your 8 rounders. Most of my fights will be 8 to 10 rounds, as they always are. In the new year I'm dropping down to 147, so I'll be dropping down to welterweight, which is a better weight for me. I won my world title at
That's
154,
right, yeah.
so it'll be great to drop down to 147 and work at that division. I'll definitely have some advantages at that one. The last fight, I was just too small for middleweight, so, you live and you learn.
Definitely. Looking at that fight, did you watch it back straight away? Have you watched it back yet? I mean, what have you reflected back on it? What's sort of been the situation with that?
So after every fight, I always reflect on it straight away with my coach, because I'm that kind of person. I like to go
Yeah.
and talk things through straight away. And he's exactly the same. So it's kind of good that we're quite similar like that. I was really happy with the beginning of the fight. The first 2-3 rounds, I was
Yeah.
pleased. So I was following the game plan. It was going well. And her distance, I was starting to cover distance and get inside, which was good. Just at the end of the third round, though, I unfortunately perforated my eardrum, and it kind of affected my balance quite badly. And I will say, like, not taking nothing away from Savannah, she performed epically. It was a really fantastic performance. And she deserves everything that she's done. But yeah, no, I was a bit gutted because then I couldn't follow the game plan as well, because my balance wasn't that great. But yeah, no, it definitely showed me that I'm not a middleweight. The size difference was huge,
Yeah.
and she's a very big puncher. I will say that as well, massive puncher. So yeah, no, I'm obviously going to go down to my more optimum weights, and that's where I belong. But nothing ventured, nothing gained. So yeah.
Exactly. Was this, do you think, the catalyst that maybe sort of hit home that, I'm not a middleweight, is this the reason why you're going back down, or do you think you would have done that anyway, regardless of the result?
To be honest, actually, it's actually COVID that the fight became available to me, because there wasn't any other options actually happening. And when I was offered this fight, I was offered it a couple of times. And I was, obviously, me and my team were confident I was going in there to win, and we had a great game plan. So it's not like I took it on a whim, but
Yeah.
also I was not going to be getting a fight at my own weight, and Savannah could no way make super welterweight. It's just not possible. So, yeah, no. So I stepped up to middle, and she came down from super middle. And obviously, there's nobody else in the UK around our weights to be fighting, so we were kind of like the obvious choice to be matched up. So, and also I couldn't get over to America where I'm promoted. So, yeah, it was kind of like everything just fell into place. And I'm really lucky to have been one of those fighters that actually got a fight this year. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. Were you surprised with, how good Savannah was, or did you, like most obviously boxing fans, like I'm sure, did you already sort of know, she's a very good fighter?
Oh yeah, I knew she was a great fighter. You don't go to the two Olympics as an amateur if you're not a good fighter. No, I wasn't going in there expecting her to be rubbish. Definitely not. But yeah, no, I mean, like, obviously styles make fights, and we matched up well. And I think it was a great fight for people to watch, and that's what made it exciting.
I saw a great photo of you both, after the fight. I mean, it's great to see, fighters after they've, just done, so many rounds in the ring, trying to punch each other's heads in, meeting up afterwards. I mean, what was said? Did you, was this sort of amicable afterwards? And is it all, you know, you sort of friendly with each other now?
I think in boxing, it's one of the few sports in the world where that sort of respect after you've shared a ring together, you can't get that in anything else, you know.
It's such an extreme, isn't it? You know, you're beating each other up the 1 minute and then you're hugging each other the next.
Exactly. And you both know how hard you've had to work to get to that position, and like the shape that you've got to get yourself into, all the fitness, all the hours in the gym, all the dieting, all of that sort of stuff, and the mental kind of preparations for these things. So you both respect each other. And once it's all said and done, you know, you give each other a hug and be like, yeah, cheers, sort of thing. So yeah, no, massive respect to Savannah. I'm really excited to see what fights she's got like on the horizon. Obviously the Claressa fights on the horizon at some point, but there's also some other great fighters in the middleweight and super middleweight division that she's going to have a great time and showcasing her skills against. So yeah, I look forward to seeing what happens.
I mean, I'm glad you mentioned Miss Shields for there. You know, obviously, I mean, I feel like you're the perfect person for me to ask this question. I mean, if the fight was to happen, having fought both, I mean, how would you see that going?
So I've done the standard reply to everybody that's asked me, and there's been a lot of people asking
I can
me.
imagine.
I'm not going to answer that question. Obviously, I'd be backing Claressa. She's my friend. Yeah. And when it gets closer to fight times, you can like when they do fight, you can definitely drop me a message, and I'll give you my opinion then for sure.
I don't blame you. I mean, it's such an evenly sort of fought fight. I think that's going to be. I mean, there's that great history, isn't it? Obviously, Savannah was the only person sort of beat Claressa in the amateurs.
Yeah, and there's two exciting styles, you know, like Claressa's obviously got the speed and the combos and just the output of punches and things like that, and also her ring IQ is amazing. You know, she's having shared the ring with her, like she's got fantastic distance and all this sort of stuff. And then being with Savannah, she's really awkward, you know, and she's
got that Fury sort of style, isn't she? That you know that.
Do you know what? It really works for her. And you know, there's quite a big amount of distance to cover to get in there, and obviously she's a heavy puncher as well, like when you stay at range sort of thing. So there's all those different things, and it's just going to be I think it's going to be the first proper female super fight when they come together. I think that's going to be brilliant.
Do you think that fight could, I mean, obviously the female boxing is on a massive trajectory as it is, but do you think that's going to be the one that's going to set it off even higher?
Absolutely. I think that will be, you know, in a few fights time, they're going to come together and clash, and it's going to be, I can imagine everybody's going to tune in to watch that fight. Male, all the men, all the women, everybody who's fans of boxing are going to want to see what happens with that one for sure.
Definitely. I'd like to ask you, obviously a lot, I don't know if you saw Twitter, Amos probably did, you know, the back and forth between, you know, Eddie Hearn and I think it was I can't remember the woman's name, was it Heather Hardy, is it?
Yeah.
But obviously she was saying that promoters need to do more, and Eddie Hearn has obviously said his commercial value. What's your sort of thoughts on that? Do you sort of agree that, you know, it's about, you know, the commercial value, or do you feel like promoters need to do more to promote women's boxing?
So I think with regards to Eddie and Matchroom, they've done a fantastic job this basically with COVID. And I think women's boxing is going to be one of the only female sports that's going to come out of COVID having improved and having risen up, and you know, we've actually really got a kickstart and got going, which is great. I feel really sorry for quite a lot of other sports which just are not happening at the moment due to funding. So massive props to Matchroom and Sky Sports Boxing as well for taking a leap of faith and giving us that platform and allowing the sport to grow. I think that women's boxing still is underpaid. You know, at the end of the day, it is cheaper for Matchroom to put on a women's world title fight than it would be to put on a man's world title fight, and that's just the fact of it. Obviously, we want the pay to be, you know, equal. We're just not earning the same, and obviously, if you were fighting for a middleweight world title or a unified middleweight, it should be closer to what the guys are getting because we're putting the same amount of work in. It's the same sort of effort. The problem is that at the moment, we're not allowed to fight the same length number of rounds. So you're always going to get that argument that people, oh, you're not doing the same as what the guys are doing, so therefore you don't deserve the same. And I don't think the argument really stands up anymore that people aren't watching women's boxing. People are watching women's boxing now. And whether or not you say it's because there's a captive audience because of COVID and all this sort of stuff or not, it's still, people are tuning in to watch it, and we are now becoming household names, and that is an amazing space to be in. You know, that was before COVID happened. That really wasn't the case just yet. We weren't quite there.
Yeah, it was basically Katie Taylor, wasn't it? That was pretty much it.
Exactly. Whereas now you've got people I know after the summer, the general public were chatting away to me. Oh yeah, I watched those women's fights. That Terry Harper and Tasha Jonas, that was an amazing fight. And these are just the general public, and that's such a great turning point in the sport for me. But there is always going to be the argument about the money, and it does need to improve. Because there's, it costs us the same to run a camp as it does for the guys. And the same sort of things need to be paid for. We still need physio, we still need our nutrition and our diets, and
sparring partners are not cheap either, are they?
No, exactly. So, we're not doing anything different other than our round times are less. And, the argument that people don't want to watch women's boxing doesn't really stand up in my opinion anymore. You still get the people on Twitter going, oh, it's a women's fight, don't care about that. But really, that's starting to change now.
Definitely. I mean, I always went, my first thought was, oh, it'd be great to see women, fight for 3 minutes for 12 rounds. But I read up, and apparently a lot of it has to do with, I think it's like recovery. I think it's something like sort of scientific to do with maybe, I think men recover, genetically better than women. I'm sure I've read, I think the WBC put an art out about it. I don't know, obviously, how legit it is and how scientist, but I mean, what's your thoughts on that? Can you see it being 3 minutes, or do you think, they're going to keep it to 2?
So women's boxing has to have a change when it comes to like the length of rounds or the number of rounds, because we need the depth to develop in the sport. And I'm a firm believer in this. Like, personally, I would love 3 minute rounds. I'm a 3 minute round fighter. It would suit me down to a T. However, I can see the argument, obviously, as women, we carry more water. So therefore, the argument is that when we dehydrate, we're more at risk of a brain injury than the guys. And I can understand that, but there's only one study done to it to confirm that. It's not 100% confirmed. And then you've got in UFC, they do 5 minute rounds, and stuff like that. So you can't say that we can't do it, because a lot of these girls are doing 3 minute rounds in the Olympics now. So that's also possible. But a good kind of compromise, I feel, is that world title fights should be 12 2-minute rounds. With an aim looking towards 3 minute rounds for 10 threes or something like that. But a compromise is 12 twos, because at the moment, if you fight for a Commonwealth title, it's 10 twos. If you fight for a world title, it's 10 twos. They shouldn't be the same. There should be that level where you have to jump up again to become a world champion. And that's going to happen for the sport to kind of grow in that regard, for me anyway.
What do you think is the key, to having, because when you obviously think of the pyramid of women's boxing, the top sector, which you were obviously in, the female boxers are obviously really, really good fighters, but then the lower you get down the pyramid, obviously the standard drops significantly. What do you think needs to happen? Do you think it's, the likes of you, Katie Taylor, dragging girls into the boxing gym? Do you think that's maybe what it is, or do you think there may be another reason for it?
So I really think actually we're about to see a growth in the sport anyway, because nowadays there's so many more girls getting involved in the sport at a younger age. Like, for myself, as Scotland's first ever female world champion, I'm always trying to encourage more young girls into the gym, getting them involved, and hopefully I can be a sort of inspiration to them, and they can see that this is a possibility for them, and it's a career path that they might be interested in, and also I think the fact that we are slowly, the pay is actually slowly rising. So it's not a career path that you're going to take where you're not going to make any money at it and you're going to have to work hard and get nothing from it. So that is starting to change. I think people like myself and obviously Claressa Shields and Katie Taylor, we're all at the forefront of that, pushing for better pay, making sure we get more airtime, all that sort of stuff is like, we're trying to get longer rounds or more rounds. All of us are trying to do that. So I think that's what needs to happen. But more girls are in the gyms, and, we've now had a huge platform, especially here in the UK, where people can watch women actually doing this sport. And I think that's a great thing, because it can only encourage more to get involved and see what we can do.
Definitely. And obviously, you know, we've got to touch on it last week against boxing, like we just said. You know, you had Rachel Ball, Terry Harper, you've got Katie Taylor fighting. You know, I mean, I take it obviously you tuned in and watched that. I mean, what did you make of the event?
So Katie absolutely shone, as always. She's just a special talent unto herself, really, to be honest. Like, she's a huge inspiration to me. Like, just, she always comes out and just looks amazing. And it's just really inspiring to watch. I think, you know, like, I felt that she completely outclassed her opponent and really should have had, she shouldn't necessarily have been in there. I don't think they were just not even on the same level. So I look forward to when Katie has another opponent, like, you know, I think Chantel Cameron would be great. Maybe Kaylee Reese or something, or I don't know.
She's going to fight her. I mean, that's been talked about a lot as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think it'd be great to see that fight would be great for British boxing, but also great for Katie to have more of a kind of a dance partner. Maybe her with Cecilia Brackhouse, they do a catch weight or something. Yeah, that'd be great.
I don't know if you just saw on Twitter just before we start, Celia Brackhouse and Luda Bella have been going at each other. I don't know if you saw it.
Oh no, I missed that.
It's an interesting read. You've got to check that out. It's quite funny.
I will, absolutely. Cecilia is, like, obviously she was unified everything, and her for such a long time, and her in the JD Mack rematch is something that I'm really excited about. Actually, can't wait to see that. But the other night, I think Terry did really well, especially with breaking a hand.
Yeah.
You know,
and it was a nasty break as well, wasn't it? It wasn't just a little sort of fracture. It was proper, you know,
I wondered if she caught it on an elbow. I wonder when she went for one of those, you know, when she just caught something, because it's pretty brutal. So hopefully gets that fixed pretty soon. But yeah, it was nice to see her, you know, looking confident in the ring and and she seems to have, like, improved again since she's got out. So it was nice to see that. I kind of thought, is it Sanders? I thought she could have come out and gave it a little bit more. I was expecting her to be more aggressive and kind of come forward and stuff. But yeah, no, she suffered a few injuries in the fight as well. So you never know really what's going on. And the Rachel Ball and Guanini fight, there was such a height difference.
She's so tall, isn't she? It's crazy.
Yeah. She's the same height as me.
No
she's
way.
5'9". That's ridiculous. Like, and she's making what, featherweight or super feather.
Yeah.
But obviously, that was really difficult for Rachel, I think, in the lead up with the change of with her.
That was a mess, wasn't it? You know, not missing weight, changing weight, going for this title, and that was for the interim WBC. What a mess.
Yeah. I think she handled the situation really well.
Yeah.
I think Guanini gave it as good as she could get as well. It was some complicated movements going on there, and Rachel really had to cut her off. It was like it was quite stressful for Rachel, I think, because when you're punching down, it's always harder, you know, when you're trying to find the smaller person. So yeah, it was great to see those fights for sure. And I think I look forward to the next lot that Eddie's going to try and get on the card for sure.
Definitely. What's sort of been your social media been like since obviously Sky? Have you noticed a sort of a dramatic like change in your social media? Is it grown a lot bigger? Are people noticing you more because of this at the Sky show? What's it been like for you?
So I always say to people, it's like your social media is massively important.
Yeah. I mean, you can make fights on there, can't you, sometimes?
Absolutely. And like, I think people need to accept that these days it's a big part of being a professional sports person.
Yeah.
You need to interact with your fans via Instagram, via Twitter, have a professional page on Facebook or whatever. And me and my coach have always been big believers in that. And like when I fought Claressa over in America, obviously I've had a real positive uptake in my followers and everything like that. And just also being on Sky Sports here in the UK has meant that my UK following has actually increased.
Yeah.
I have a lot of support from America because that's where I'm signed. But over here, people didn't know me as much. Obviously in Scotland they did, but the rest of the UK. So I've had a real positive response there. And it's been kind of nice, you know, just to chat away to other female fighters and asking my advice and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, no, it's been really positive.
Yeah, and you know, the good thing with Twitter and sort of all these other sort of sites is that there's that block button, isn't it, for the few people that sometimes there's a few of them. They need you sometimes, don't they?
Yeah, you can field some of the message requests as well. You know, you get some really odd ones.
Yeah, the amount of requests I have of people asking me if I want to buy boxing gloves. Yeah, they don't think they've quite, realised what it is. If we do,
Yeah.
we get them all the time. Do you want to buy boxing gloves? No, thanks. I don't get punched in the face for a living, thank you.
I get them all the time. I'm just like, all right, cool. I also get the "Will you marry me" ones, or
What's been the weirdest? What's been the weirdest one? Is there one that sticks out? There's been the weirdest request.
One where can I have a photo of your hands? That was weird. I had another one where a guy was basically voice noting me poetry that he had written about me, and then was getting really angry when I didn't reply. Then he'd apologize for being angry. That was pretty mad, that one. In the end, my coach had to send him a message and be like, "Mate, you need to stop this. It's not okay."
Yeah. Because Ebony Bridges has come up and said, she's been offered like thousands and thousands of pounds for like socks and things. It's crazy, isn't it?
I did get one really weird one. You can. I would love you to come and live with me in California. You can have my free penthouse apartment. Come and stay here if you give up your boxing career.
Okay.
That was weird. He's like, "I'll pay for you for the rest of your life if you give up your boxing career and come and live with me in California." And I was like,
you sort of want to say, yeah, okay, just to see what he actually does if you actually flew out there and started living with him.
I know. It's just like, okay.
So before I leave you, enjoy the rest of your evening, Han. What, if somebody said to you, I'm going to hand you the ideal 2021, what would that look like for you?
So my ideal 2021 is COVID is gone.
Yeah.
And we can see like crowds back for boxing. That'd be amazing. My goals are to be out in around about March, April time, and I will be having my first fight at welterweight and hitting that division running. And my goal will be I'll be chasing titles in 2021, no doubts whatsoever.
Is that going to be UK or is that going to be US? Where are you aiming? What are you hoping for, or both?
It's all up in the air at the moment. Obviously, I would love to be back in the US. I'm missing all of those guys over there, I must admit. And I must admit, US boxing fans, they're great. They're really cool. So yeah, definitely would like to be over there. But obviously, no aversions to fighting in the UK. But it might be a show in Europe. You never know. Just where there is a show available.
Oh well. On behalf of Southwest Boxing Media, Hannah, thanks so much for your time today. We really do wish you all the best for next year, and hopefully we can catch up again soon.
Absolutely, and thanks so much for having me on. It was great, and yeah.
That's fine. I'll if I've got a free 2 minutes, I'll voice note you some of my own poetry. Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Crack on,
Anna, thank you very much. I'll speak to you soon.
Cheers. Take
care. Thank you. Bye.